So UFC Seattle, Israel Adesanya versus Joe Pyfer is taking place this weekend, and I'm very excited for this card. All right, for a fight night, I think it's actually really solid. At first, I thought this was really bad, considering that we have a Michael Chiesa feature fight on this card. But upon re-looking at this, I think there are a lot of hidden bangers, and it's certainly better than the London card that we got last week. But regardless, though, I'm going to be breaking down every single fight on this card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event. So without wasting any more time, let's jump right into the video. First fight of the night, we got Alexia Thainara versus Bruna, Brazil. I'm going to go with Alexia Thainara. I think she's a lot better than Bruna, Brazil. And I don't know why Bruna, Brazil took this fight. She's just coming off a loss against Ketlin Souza. I think that happened 2 months ago. And she's already back in there against Alexia Thainara, who is a ranked contender in the women's strawweight division. I don't know how good Alexia Thainara is, to be honest. I could see this being a mid-decision, but I do think that she's way better than Bruna Brazil, at least. Her grappling is really impressive. She was able to easily submit Molly McCann, and I know it's Molly McCann, but still, the way she just ragdolled her, it's there's actual potential in her. And also, she ragdolled Loma Lubune to a decision. Again, not the best grappler, but she showed a complete mixed martial artist game. And I think that's what she's going to do to Bruna Brazil as well, who, I'm going to be real, I haven't been too impressed with Bruna Brazil. Outside of her win against Molly McCann, she just feels very hesitant to throw. She has a very technical game, but there's no aggression behind it, where, I'm fearing for the opponent's life. Nor do I feel any sort of threats that are exceptional from Bruna Brazil's game. So I'm going to go with Alexia Thainara to win, at least by, I'm going to say, lay and pray decision, 30-27, maybe 29-28. If she gets a submission over Bruna Brazil, I will be impressed, because Bruna Brazil does have some decent BJJ in her back pocket. But I don't think that's going to happen, so I'm going to go with Alexia Thainara to get the job done via 29-28, 30-27 decision. Okay, moving on, though, we got Ricky Simón versus Adrian Yanez. I'm going with Ricky Simón on this one. I think that Ricky Simón is the more complete mixed martial artist. Adrian Yanez, he's a slick boxer, but that's really about it. I haven't really touched upon anything else in this game that was exceptional. He did have a close fight with Daniel Marcos, but first off, that was 2 years ago. And also, I don't think Daniel Marcos is nearly the caliber of a wrestler that Ricky Simón is. Although I would say that Daniel Marcos and Ricky Simón are similar level. But either way, though, I think that Ricky Simón has the more complete game. He has more options to winning this fight. There is a chance that Adrian Yanez can just jab off Ricky Simón's head off, because Yanez is fast. That is a key advantage that Adrian Yanez has over Ricky Simón in this fight. But I don't really see that happening unless he's able to defend every single takedown and just get right back up, even if he gets taken down over the course of a 3-round fight. So I'm going to say that Ricky Simón is going to just out-grapple Adrian Yanez. Interestingly enough, this fight is on the prelims for some reason. Meanwhile, we had to make room for Michael Chiesa for the feature fight of this card. Again, we'll talk about him later in this video. But either way, though, I think that Ricky Simón should be able to beat Adrian Yanez. I think that Ricky Simón has the more complete game, and he's just going to use his wrestling in order to get an easy decision. Maybe he finishes Adrian Yanez by KO, but it's hard to say. Ricky Simón doesn't do that every single time, but I do think that this is one of those fights where Ricky Simón will use a lot of his wrestling offense in order to get the job done. Okay, moving on, though. We got Navajo Stirling versus Bruno Lopes. I'm going to go with Navajo Stirling. Now, so far in Navajo Stirling's career, I don't think he's made any sort of impressive statement. He hasn't had a finish yet in the UFC, even against the guys that the UFC clearly gave him to just can feed a little. But that being said, though, I do think that he's going to beat Bruno Lopes. Bruno Lopes, outside of his win against Magomed Gadzhizulov, which was a boring clinch fest for 3 rounds against the cage, again, there's nothing really exceptional to his career. Like, he got slimed out by Dustin Jacoby in the first round. And I know I do rate Dustin Jacoby very highly, but you can't be getting flatlined by Dustin Jacoby in the first round like that. I just don't think that's a good look. Especially because Dustin Jacoby, like, he can get knockouts. It's just that he's not known for being a one-punch hitter quitter. Like, he needs to set things up and get into the later parts of the fight in order to fire into his shots. And the fact that he was able to get flatlined by Dustin Jacoby with no resistance in the first round, I just don't think that's a great look in hindsight. But either way, though, I think that Navajo Stirling should be able to make it a scrappy fight. I think he's a very skilled mixed martial artist. Again, I don't think he's the next big thing coming out of city kickboxing, like the UFC hopes him to be, because again, he hasn't shown any sort of finishing capability, and he's a lot slower than the other guys at the top of CKB, like Carlos Olberg and Israel Adesanya. But I do think he's good enough to beat Bruno Lopes, so I'm going to pick Navajo Stirling to beat Bruno Lopes and win this fight. I'm going to say by decision. Until Navajo Stirling produces a KO in the UFC, I'm just never going to pick Navajo Stirling to win by KO. But he is skilled. I just don't think he's ranked caliber because he has no finishing potential. But he's still very skilled, and I would pick him to comfortably beat Bruno Lopes over the course of 3 rounds. Okay, moving on, though, we got Casey O'Neill versus Gabriella Fernandez. I'm going to go with Gabriella Fernandez. Now, if Casey O'Neill were a little bit more active, I would consider a crafty upset pick. But it's been a while. She's been out for like almost 2 years now because of injuries. I forgot what she injured specifically, but I do think it was a serious one considering how long she's been off from fighting in the cage. But I am going to go with Gabriella Fernandez. I think that she's on a crazy momentum right now. And I think stylistically this will match up very well. Casey O'Neill, she has been out-grappled in the past. I know she beat Luana Santos, who is a great grappler, and she's doing great things in the women's bantamweight division right now. But I think Gabriella Fernandez is a lot stronger than Luana Santos. And also the fact that Gabriella Fernandez, she's more willing to trade on the feet. Alright? I felt like in that fight with Luana Santos, all Luana Santos tried to do was go for the takedown, and she got picked apart on the feet in the process. Whereas Gabriella Fernandez, even if she fails the first and second takedown, she's not completely helpless on the feet, and she'll actually trade shots with you over and over again. But either way, though, I think that Gabriella Fernandez, she's on a crazy momentum. She beat Wang Kong, which is a great win in hindsight. And I think on the feet, she has the power to just drop you with a head kick out of nowhere, like what she did to Wang Kong. And on the ground, she is the superior grappler. I can see a Casey O'Neill decision, but I'm not confident to pick in it because, again, it's been over 2 years since she's last fought in the octagon. So I'm going to say that Gabriella Fernandez just out-muscles Casey O'Neill in the grappling exchanges and just make it a very scrappy fight. And I think that Gabriella Fernandez will look more aggressive, which is ultimately why I'm going to pick her to beat Casey O'Neill. I'm going to say by decision. Okay, moving on, though, we got Marcin Tybura versus Tyrell Fortune. I'm going with Tyrell Fortune on this one. If this were Marcin Tybura back in 2023, 2022, I would be very open to picking Marcin Tybura via blob check. But I think Marcin Tybura's washed at this point. He's 40 years of age, after all. And it's the way he looked in his last fight with Ante Delia. Getting knocked out by Ante Delia, I don't think is the end of the world. But it's the way he looked where he just folded up in the first exchange. I just can't pick Marcin Tybura after watching that fight against Ante Delia. And we've also kind of figured out that Ante Delia, he's not the greatest thing in the world. He's coming off 2 losses after knocking out Marcin Tybura in the first round. So I'm ultimately going to have to pick Tyrell Fortune here. Now, I will say, Tyrell Fortune, he's solid. He has a solid double leg if he's getting rocked on the feet. I also do find his power to be quite good. All right, not elite level caliber, but it is pretty good. But I'm going to say that Tyrell Fortune, using his athleticism, youth, power, as well as his physicality, I think he's just going to destroy Marcin Tybura in the first round. Again, if this were Marcin Tybura from like 3 years ago, I would definitely be open to picking Marcin Tybura via blob check. But he's just not the same Marcin Tybura that we all know as of recently. And I think that Marcin Tybura has drastically regressed over the last couple of years. So I'm going to say that Tyrell Fortune should get the job done. I'm going to say by round 1 or 2 TKO. And it's going to be very unfortunate because had this been a couple of years back, I think that Marcin Tybura could have got the job done. Okay, moving on though, we got Chase Hooper versus Lance Gibson Jr. I'm going to go with Chase Hooper on this one. I struggle to comprehend whether or not Lance Gibson Jr. is UFC caliber because he has not shown anything exceptional throughout his career. Like, yeah, he went to a close decision with Bobby Green, but you know, in hindsight, you should be finishing Bobby Green if you're any sort of elite level prospect. And although I would say that Lance Gibson Jr. has power and he has shown knockout capabilities in the regional scene, that's against regional level comp. And yes, well, you could say, oh, Chase Hooper, he's very chinny. He looked very skittish in his last fight against Alexander Hernandez. Alexander Hernandez is actually solid. Like, the guy's on like a 4-fight win streak. And he's looking to be a ranked caliber contender if he wins one more fight. So I actually don't think that losing to Alexander Hernandez means that you're going to all of a sudden lose to Lance Gibson Jr. I think the level difference is going to be very apparent. And if the fight hits the ground, Chase Hooper is going to have a drastic advantage in the jiu-jitsu. And ultimately, that's where I'm going to pick him to win the fight. All right. As the fight progresses, Chase Hooper is going to be more comfortable because he's not immediately going to get blitzed and knocked down in the first round. I think that Chase Hooper, once he finds his takedowns, he should be able to find a way to get the fight to the ground and just twist up Lance Gibson Jr. like a pretzel, like what Chase Hooper does in almost every single one of his fights. So I'm going to say that Chase Hooper, maybe he looks very skittish early on in the fight, but by rounds 2 and 3, I'm going to say that Lance Gibson Jr., he gets folded up. I'm going to say... What's like a very common submission that Chase Hooper goes for? I'm not too sure. Like I forgot like what Chase Hooper's best submission move is, but I'm gonna say by submission though. I don't think that's a crazy take. But yeah, I'm gonna say that Chase Hooper maybe struggles on the feet early on, but as the fight progresses, he's going to feel more comfortable and eventually find his takedowns and go into flow state and get the job done using his black belt jiu-jitsu. Moving on though, we got Ignacio Bahamondes versus Tofiq Musayev. I think this is a crazy mismatch. I have no idea why the UFC booked Tofiq Musayev against Ignacio Bahamondes. I do think that Bahamondes is filling in on short notice. I forgot who the original opponent was. But either way, though, I need to go with Ignacio Bahamondes here. I just feel like Tofiq Musayev, I don't think he has the style to beat Ignacio Bahamondes. Like, you have to be someone like Fiziev, someone who's very exceptionally skilled at the kicking range in order to beat Bahamondes. I don't see that out of Tofiq Musayev. Either that or you just go for takedowns nonstop. And that's not Tofiq Musayev's game either. It just feels like Tofiq Musayev, he just stands there in range, throws a couple of shots, but nothing really home to write about. And on the ground especially, though, like, he is so open to getting submitted. Like, I could totally see a sequence where they somehow magically end up on the ground, but then Ignacio Bahamondes pulls guard and then gets a triangle choke because Bahamondes, he's actually pretty good at getting submissions off his back. But either way, though, I must say that Ignacio Bahamondes is the much better MMA fighter. Like, the only way Tofiq Musayev can win this is if he flukes a KO in the later rounds. But I don't see this going past the later rounds. I think the leg kicks and head kicks especially are going to be money for Bahamondes in this fight. I must say that Bahamondes gets the job done, at least by comfortable decision, at least. But maybe he gets a head kick. It has been a while since we've seen an Ignacio Bahamondes head kick KO. But it is very possible. I do think that Tofiq Musayev, He's not really going to throw anything that Bahamondes is going to have to respect. And this is like an ultimate mismatch. And I struggle to comprehend whether or not Tofiq Musayev is UFC caliber. I feel like the only reason he's here at this point is because he's from Azerbaijan. But either way, though, I'm going to go with Ignacio Bahamondes to get the job done. At least by 30-27 decision. I'm a hope for a head kick KO. But either way, though, I'm going to say that Bahamondes, he's just going to look really good against Tofiq Musayev in this fight. And I think that Ignacio Bahamondes is going to get a bounce-back win in dominant fashion. Alright, moving on, though, we got Terrance McKinney versus Kyle Nelson. I'm going to go with Terrance McKinney to get the job done here. I feel like Terrance McKinney, he has a very similar style to Kyle Nelson. Both of these guys just like to trudge forward and pressure against their opponent. But the difference is, I think Terrance McKinney, he's a lot more explosive than Kyle Nelson. I feel like Kyle Nelson, if you're someone who likes to keep range and just play it safe, then I think that Kyle Nelson can do very well against that particular style. But against someone who also likes to jump into the fire like a Terrance McKinney, I'm going to say that Kyle Nelson, he's just not going to be able to keep up with the pressure, all right? I feel like at times Kyle Nelson will be gun-shy in this fight because Terrance McKinney hits a lot harder than the guys that Kyle Nelson's really been able to put away. I know he beat Matt Frevola in his last fight, and he looked really good doing it, but that's Matt Frevola, all right? I don't know if I can really put that much weight into a Matt Frevola win in the year 2025. But either way, though, I'm going to say that Terrance McKinney, he can also fall on his grappling if he needs to. I've not really seen anything crazy out of Kyle Nelson's grappling game, to say the least. But I'm going to go with Terrance McKinney to just chin Kyle Nelson. Maybe even get a submission. I can also see that. It is kind of weird to rely on a Terrance McKinney win because, like, Terrance McKinney, it's practically a coin flip to see whether or not he can win a fight. But I'm going to think that Terrance McKinney, this is one of those fights where he can actually fight aggressively and come out on top. Like, in hindsight, like, fighting Chris Duncan, it's like, Chris Duncan, he's tough, and if you don't put him away, then you're kind of fucked. But I think that Terrance McKinney can put away Kyle Nelson. He got finished before by Steve Garcia, which, no shame in that. Like, I know that Steve Garcia is very good, but I do think that Terrance McKinney has comparable levels of power to Steve Garcia. So I'm going to say that Terrance McKinney gets the job done. I'm going to say round 1 knockout, maybe even a submission because I do rate his ground game a lot higher than Kyle Nelson's. But I think a knockout is more likely because I feel like both of these guys are just going to start trading in the pocket on the feet. And I think that Terrance McKinney, using his athleticism, will ultimately come out on top. So yeah, I'm going to go with Terrance McKinney, round 1 TKO. Alright, moving on though, we got Mansur Abdul Malik versus Yousri Belgaroui. I'm going with Yousri Belgaroui on this one. I was super impressed with his last performance against Azamat. And I'm going to be real, I don't even know if Mansur Abdul Malik can beat Azamat. Right? I feel like Azamat is a lot more skilled wrestler than Mansur Abdul Malik. And sure, you could say that, oh, Abdul Malik's undefeated, he's a prospect that the UFC love. But when you watch his fights, are you too impressed outside of when he's finishing cans? Not really. Like, he fought Cody Brundage, who was borderline a can, and he was still not able to finish Cody Brundage until the 3rd round, and they kind of had a mid-kickboxing fight. I don't think Yousri Belgaroui is going to allow you to do that. Unless you come out with a game plan where you just shoot takedowns nonstop and just try and ragdoll Yousri Belgaroui as much as possible, I don't see a way for Mansur Abdul Malik to really win on the feet. Again, Abdul Malik, he can be very plotty at times on the feet as well, and I think that's going to play perfectly into Yousri Belgaroui's game. I just feel like there's such a big difference in the striking and in the grappling. Like, you would think that, 6'6" kickboxer at middleweight, like, you would think that's easy to take down, but Makhachev, who I rate as an overall better wrestler than Mansur Abdul Malik, he had a very hard time trying to take down Yousri Belgaroui in their fight. So I'm going to say that Yousri Belgaroui, he's just gonna pick his shots. I know he has a couple of losses in his career, like he lost to Marco Tulio back in the day. Marco Tulio's solid. He's actually really solid, and like just because you lost to Marco Tulio doesn't mean it's the end of the world. So I'm gonna say that Yousri Belgaroui, he's gonna get the job done. Maybe late round TKO. I could see Mansur Abdul Malik breaking as the fight progresses because the striking difference is gonna be a little bit too much. But either way, though, I'm going to say that Yousri Belgaroui just picks apart Mansur Abdul Malik using the jab and all that. And plus, you got to factor in this. Mansur Abdul Malik is always the one who's used to fighting as the bigger man. But Yousri Belgaroui is a lot bigger than Mansur Abdul Malik. So I'm interested to see how Abdul Malik's going to respond. I don't think he's going to respond very well, though. It's like very rare to fight someone who's 6 feet 6 inches tall in like 185. So I'm gonna go with Yousri Belgaroui to beat Mansur Abdul Malik. I'm gonna say by second or third round TKO, where he starts breaking Mansur Abdul Malik because Malik's finding a hard time getting his takedowns, and also the fact that Belgaroui, his jab is fucking money. I think that's going to be the ultimate difference in this fight, and I'm going to pick Yousri Belgaroui to get the job done. I'm going to say pretty comfortably over the course of 3 rounds. Moving on, though, we got Julian Erosa versus Leryan Douglas. This is going to be a banger fight. I know for a fact that both of these guys carry a lot of heat in their hands. I'm expecting a round 1 finish regardless of who's going to win. That being said, though, I'm picking Leryan Douglas to get the job done. I know this is one of those fights where Julian Erosa can fluke a win, but I can't really pick someone to win a fight via fluke if that's their only path to victory, because realistically, what is Julian Erosa going to do? Like, is he going to outpoint Leryan Douglas? Probably not. I've also seen Julian Erosa get chinned many times throughout his career, and I know that Leryan Douglas, you know, he's making his debut. He has a lot of losses in the regional scene. But this is one guy you don't really want to be testing your chin against. I'm sorry. You just don't really want to do that. And I think that Leryan Douglas, he's going to be able to find the off switch against Julian Erosa. Can Julian Erosa make it crafty and make it a 3-round war? Possibly. But, you know, on hindsight, though, like, I don't really rate any of his wins. Like, 41-year-old Darren Elkins, who should have retired 2 fights ago. You know, it's not a great look. I know he looked great against Melquiz Acosta, and Melquiz Acosta is a legitimate top contender in the featherweight division right now, but Melquiz Acosta looks a lot more improved since he's fought Julian Erosa. I know it's only been a short period of time, but still, though, he looks a lot better fighting Morgan Sherrier and Dan Ige compared to when he fought Julian Erosa. So I'm going to say that Leryan Douglas, he's going to knock out Julian Erosa in the first round. Maybe Julian Erosa crafts up a veteran decision, but I kind of doubt it. All right, it's been a while since we've really seen a crafty Julian Erosa performance outside of his fight with Christian Rodriguez. And I'm gonna be real, I think Christian Rodriguez is just a professional bag salesman. So I'm gonna say that Leryan Douglas gets the job done. I'm going to say round 1 KO. I think it's more likely. If the fight goes longer and longer, I would be interested in claiming a Julian Erosa upset. But I don't think this fight's going to go past the first round. Because Leryan Douglas is one of the nastiest knockout artists I've seen on the regional scene. Alright, now moving on though. We got Michael Chiesa versus Niko Price. We don't really need to break this down. Michael Chiesa is going to submit Niko Price in the first round. It's fucking Niko Price. That being said, though, Michael Chiesa, what has he done to earn this kind of privilege from the UFC? Because I really don't know. I know back in the day, he didn't sue the UFC because Conor McGregor threw the dolly at the bus. And in that incident, Michael Chiesa got injured and his fight got called off. And rather than suing the UFC and saving them a couple of dollars, now the UFC parade Michael Chiesa as if he's this big legend of the sport. I get all that, but what has Michael Chiesa done to earn himself a commentary job and also earn all of these matchups where he's not fighting the hungry upcoming contender? Like, even the guys who have Dana White privilege, when they are old, they get fed to the wolves. Like, Anthony Smith, in his last fight, had to fight Zhang Ming Yang and get brutally beaten down in the first round before he retired. Alright? What has Michael Chiesa done to avoid all of that? Like, did he suck someone off under the table? Did he catch Dana White's name on the Epstein list? It can't just be, he did sue the UFC when Conor McGregor threw the dolly at the bus. Alright, it can't just be that. Because even the guys who've done favors for the UFC, even those guys, they have to fight serious contenders when they're getting old and about to retire. Like, why Michael Chiesa is getting all this privilege? I don't really get it. But you know what the worst part about this is, though? If Michael Chiesa, once he retires, like, they're gonna bring out a 20-minute retirement package and parade Michael Chiesa as if he's this legend of the sport. He's never won a belt. He's never even fought for a UFC belt. I don't know why the UFC keep parading him as this legend of the sport. And quite frankly, his commentary once he retires, I haven't been too impressed with it so far. So moving forward, I don't know what to expect from his commentary. Like, it could be better, but from what I've been seeing, nothing exceptional. It just feels like every other yapper at the desk that we have in the commentary booth. So I don't want to see Michael Chiesa win, but I unfortunately think that Michael Chiesa is going to win because it's fucking Niko Price in the year 2026. So yeah, I'm gonna pick Michael Chiesa, round 1 submission. Like, there shouldn't be any resistance here. If Michael Chiesa gets Niko Price to past the first round, that is the disgrace on his end. But still, though, I do think that Michael Chiesa should beat Niko Price with relative ease and just finish him in the first round. It's gonna be very sad because Niko Price, like, he is a walking victim, but, like, it's Michael Chiesa. Like, he's not even that good. Like, if this were anybody half capable right now in their careers, I would pick them to win. But because it's Niko Price in the year 2026, I just cannot find a way to pick Niko Price to beat Michael Chiesa in the year 2026. Alright, moving on though, we got Alexa Grasso versus Macy Barber, the Gooner matchup of the century. I'm gonna go with Macy Barber, unfortunately. Like, I would love to pick my wifey, but like, I've been looking through her career, and I'm realizing, hang on a minute, she's kind of mid. Like, I thought that she had some crazy knockout power in her hands back in the day. She has no KOs in the UFC. And I think that Macy Barber, although I don't think she's anything particularly special, I do think that any of the top contenders should beat her. At this point, I don't consider Alexa Grasso a top contender. It's just very difficult for me to really pick Alexa Grasso to win a fight in the year of 2026. Because I just don't know how she got to a championship belt, but I can honestly say this, it was low-key kind of a fluke. Like, the way she's been looking ever since she had the trilogy with Valentina Shevchenko, she's not looking great. Like, she got held down by Shevchenko for 5 rounds. Then she fought Natalia Silva and got butchered on the feet. Like, she's very plotty. She has a very hard time circling the cage, and she's incredibly easy to take down. Right, like, that is a recipe for disaster waiting to happen. And Macy Barber, while I don't think she's anything special, her wrestling is solid, and I could see Macy Barber using her wrestling in order to get the job done. Because again, like, Alexa Grasso, like, she hasn't shown anything where I could confidently say that she can defend all the takedowns or just be able to pick apart Macy Barber on the feet, let alone get a knockout, because again, she has 0 knockouts throughout her UFC career. So I'm gonna unfortunately have to pick Macy Barber. Once Alexa Grasso loses, hit me up. If you're feeling sad, just know I got you, babe. Alright, but either way though, I don't see Alexa Grasso winning this fight. It's gonna be sad. But yeah, I don't know if she's UFC caliber. Like, that's how bad she's looked over the last couple of fights. And it's a wonder as to how she ever became a champion. Maybe she proved me wrong, but like, the only way Alexa Grasso has been able to win fights is by just getting a submission off guard. And I don't think Maycee Barber is just going to let Alexa Grasso submit her off bottom. Like, again, Maycee Barber is a solid grappler who can keep top position very well at times. So I'm unfortunately going to have to pick Maycee Barber to get the job done. But I am going to root for my Pookie Bear, Alexa Grasso. And I hope she wins, but I just don't see it because, I don't know, she has looked incredibly mid throughout most of her fights in her UFC career recently. Last but not least, we got Israel Adesanya versus Joe Bodybags Pyfer. I'm picking Officer Pyfer to win via round 2 body cam off submission. I feel like Israel Adesanya, if this were Israel Adesanya from like 2 years ago, I would be more confident to picking him. But now I'm questioning as to whether or not Israel Adesanya is committed like he was before. He is coming off multiple losses against Nasruddin Navajo, Dricus du Plessis, and Sean Strickland even. And sure, those aren't bad losses, to say the least. Like those guys are top level in the middleweight division right now. But while I don't think that Joe Pyfer's exactly elite of elite in the middleweight division, I do think he has the tools to beat Israel Adesanya at this point in his career. Alright, Israel Adesanya, he's going to be very gun-shy at first. I think that because he's coming off that TKO loss to Nasruddin Navajo, he's going to try to play it safe throwing the leg kicks a lot, which will work early on in the fight, but eventually Joe Pyfer is going to find a way to land the nuclear right hand that he's famous for. And even when he loses to guys like Jack Hermanson, Pyfer is able to drop those guys and with the right hand and just almost finish them in the process. But the difference between Jack Hermanson and Israel Adesanya, like, sure, you could say that Jack Hermanson is nowhere near the caliber of a striker that Israel Adesanya is. But at the same time, though, I also think that Jack Hermanson is better at grappling. All right? And I think that Joe Pyfer, in that particular fight, he just didn't grapple, which is one of his best weapons. Whereas in this fight, I don't think he's going to have that same hesitation to get the fight into the ground. If anything, that's where I think Joe Pyfer's going to do his best work in this fight. He's got a nasty submission game. He trains with Sean Brady and it shows because, again, his submissions are actually really solid. Like, he just doesn't use it all the time. But I do think that Joe Pyfer, if he gets the fight to the ground, Israel Adesanya is going to be cooked. And, like, on the feet, while you can say that Israel Adesanya is the much better technical striker, I don't see a world where Israel Adesanya just avoids the right hand for 5 rounds. Like, Joe Pyfer's surprisingly crafty with the right hand down the pipe. And I think that eventually Israel Adesanya is going to get dropped. He's going to get caught with a nuclear bomb. And even if he doesn't get finished, again, in this particular situation, Joe Pyfer's not going to be afraid to jump to the ground with him. And I think that Joe Pyfer is going to find a submission in the second and third round of the fight, all right? Now, maybe Israel Adesanya just defends all the takedowns, you know, keeps circling around, cooking Joe Pyfer's legs in the process because that is how Joe Pyfer lost to Jack Hermanson before. But I think Joe Pyfer's a lot better now, and he's going to be able to use a lot more of his tools a lot more confidently than before. So I'm going to ultimately pick Joe Pyfer to drop Israel Adesanya, jump the back, and secure himself a rear naked choke in the second or third round. Kind of like what he did to Abus Magomedov, right? I do think that Abus Magomedov's a solid grappler, and the fact that Joe Pyfer was able to submit him is a very good statement. So I'm going to go with Joe Pyfer to turn the body cam off and get the job done via round 2 rear naked choke submission. Alright, that's going to be it for this video. If you guys want to see more videos like this, please make sure to like and subscribe so we can monetize this channel. But other than that, if you guys want to see more videos like... Alright, that's going to be it for this video. If you guys want to see more videos like this, please make sure to like and subscribe so we can monetize the channel. But leave your comments down below who you have winning for the main event this weekend between Israel Adesanya and Joe Pyfer. Outside of that, leave any comments down below for video suggestions you have for me, and I will try to make them. But otherwise, I will see you guys next time. Peace.